Test-taking strategies. Let's talk about what we need to do before the test, during the test, and after the test. Those are three very critical areas that you need to focus on. First of all, let me just say, when you are in a college math class, you've probably noticed that you tend to cover quite a bit of material. And tests may be given less frequently compared to what you are used to if some of you are fresh out of high school. When you got your first test in college or this semester, or when you do get your test, you may be shocked or disappointed if it wasn't what you expected to receive. But you've got to think of it as a way to prepare yourself for future tests. And so instead of feeling sorry for yourself and feeling like the world has ended, you need to get up and get moving and figure out what you did wrong and do different. And make sure that you get yourself back up and you don't quit. Test-taking strategies can help make the difference between knowing the material and memorizing it or really learning it. And in math, you don't want to memorize, you want to learn it because there are so many steps and so many levels that you need to take, and you can't fake it, you've got to learn the material. So it's very important that you take the right steps to get there. Before you take the test, you have to, an idea would be trying to use the 5-day study plan. And I'm going to go over that in just a few minutes. Ask your instructor about the format of the exam before the test. What's it going to be like? Many instructors will share and let you know. Others you may have to ask. Are there going to be, how many questions are there going to be? How are you going to grade? What are we allowed to bring? Usually, again, the instructors are pretty clear with that. And try to make sure that you know everything that's going to be on that test. Get as much information on the test before you take the test. Master your problems with the ACE approach. While you're studying, make sure that you can answer all the problems that are going to be on the test, that you can confirm your answers, and that you understand the mistakes you make. Do not move forward if you don't understand the mistakes you made. Make sure you get the help you need. Go to your instructor's office hours, go to the math tutoring center, anything you need to do to make sure that you understand the errors that you're making before you walk in on test day. You also want to create practice exams. You can either get that from the book, study guides, or one of the things that you could do is when you take notes in class, have 2 separate notebooks. And when your instructor puts a problem down on the board, you want to put the problem on one of your notebooks and leave that alone, and actually take the notes and write the solution to the problem, and just have one notebook full of problems. And then the night before you take your test, you want to work those problems out and check them with the notes that you actually took in the classroom. So that way your instructors, you'll have a good idea of what's going to be on that test. And usually a little trick I learned from math instructors is what they do, what they put on the board will be on your exam, just different numbers. So it's pretty safe to say if you know what you have in your notebook and you can answer those questions, you're going to do well in your exam. Time yourself. Use that notebook with all the questions and time yourself and examine the errors. Check your answers based on the notebook that has all the notes written on them. We tell students this time and time again, and I'll be darned if you guys listen. But you should sleep and eat well 48 hours prior to the exam. Sleep is critical, and you've heard that, I'm sure, many, many times. Deep breathe prior to the exam. Get yourself into the routine of taking deep breaths. It clears your mind. It keeps your mind clear so that you can perform. And then critical that you arrive on time. So when you get into the class, if you are late and rushing into the classroom, you've already raised your anxiety level because you're late. So be on time and try to talk to no one. So if you have best friends in there, you just have to let them know, I need to zone, I need to get into my zone, and I need to breathe, and I need to relax. I don't want to talk about the material. I don't want to talk about if I've done this problem or you've done this problem, because that causes anxiety. If you start asking questions about the test before you get the test, you'll really put yourself in a very high anxious level. And avoid cramming. Again, we tell you this time and time again. Some of you listen and some of you continue to do the cramming, but it does alleviate stress if you can study in a timely manner. Okay, the 5-day study plan, you're going to break down your studying over a period of about 5 days. And each day you're going to prepare for a new chapter and review the previous chapters every day. You're going to divide the material up into small workable chunks, and you're going to use active learning techniques, which we'll talk about when we talk about our learning styles. And you're going to use your time management strategies so that you can break these days up and the study times up in order to know the material on test day. Here's an example of a 5-day study plan model. So, for example, let's just say that you have 4 chapters that you're going to be tested on, which I believe is pretty common in math. So Tuesday you would start preparing and go to chapter 1, and you would spend about 2 hours on Tuesday studying that chapter. Wednesday you will prepare for chapter 2, but you're going to review chapter 1 for about 30 minutes, and then you're going to go to chapter 2 and spend the majority of time on chapter 2, which could be anywhere from an hour to 2 hours, depending on how much time you need. Thursday, you're going to go back to chapter 1, only spend about 15 minutes on that, go to chapter 2, spend 30 minutes on that, and then go to chapter 3, about an hour and a half, hour to an hour and a half. Friday, you're going to review chapter 1 again for about 10 minutes, go to chapter 2, 15 minutes, go to chapter 3, 30 minutes, and then go into chapter 4 and spend about an hour. We're going to let you have Saturday off so you can go and relax and have fun. And then on Sunday night, before your test on Monday, you're going to review chapter 1 for 10 minutes, chapter 2 for 10 minutes, chapter 3 for 20 minutes, and chapter 4 for 30 minutes. And the reason we're doing chapter 4 on Sunday just for 30 minutes is because there's a good chance that that's the material you've learned most recently. So if you were to follow this plan for any discipline, any class or any study sessions that you may have, all of this is repeating and reviewing and going into your long-term memory. I guarantee you if you got to the habit and the routine of doing this, you would perform beautifully on your math exams. But it takes practice and it takes making this a habit. So hopefully some of you or all of you will try this. During the test, again, arrive early, but not too early, or you may stress yourself out. Always do your relaxation technique, which would be a simple deep breathing, positive self-talk, muscle relaxation. Pay attention to what the instructor is saying. Then what you're going to do is when the instructor gives you your exam, and I try to be funny here when I say you're going to take a dump, and what you're going to do is actually take a knowledge dump. And when the instructor gives you the exam, you're going to turn it upside down, or you're going to go to the back page, and everything that you need to remember for that exam, you're going to write right away before you even look at the exam. So if there are equations you need to know, formulas, whatever it is that you think you need to know to be successful, you're going to take the knowledge dump on the back of the paper and write all of those things down right away. Then you're going to look at the exam, check to see the time, the point value, and you're going to read each problem carefully. And this is where we lose a lot of you. Many of you do not read the directions. It's critical in math because that's a mistake that we make, and you miss problems because of that. You're not reading the directions. So make sure you read each problem carefully, 2 to 3 times if you can. Underline and circle key words. If you have a highlighter, highlight those key words. And work from the easy problems first, go through the whole exam, and do all of the easy problems first, and then go back to the ones that are a little more challenging for you. What tends to happen is if you do the easier problems first, you feel really good and confident about yourself. Your mind is clear, your thinking is clear, And then when you go back to the other more challenging questions, you feel better about where you're at, and many times the easy ones will trigger the memory for the ones that are more challenging. So these are critical steps to take during the test. A couple other things, just remember, remain calm and replace your negative thinking. If you need to take a break and start breathing a little bit, do so, and then get back to your work. This last, number 11, is critical. Use the whole time period to finish. Last I checked, instructors don't give prizes to the first one who finishes. So I'm thinking it's still the same way. And what you also need to remember is research shows those students who finish right away are not your A papers. They tend to be the students who have given up. Many times they just write their names on the exam and hand it in. And those of you who are still working on your problems are giving them credit and thinking they're brilliant and oh my gosh, they studied, I didn't. You're putting too much time and energy into that way of thinking, when in reality those tend to be the students who don't do as well. Not always, but the majority. So make sure you use the whole time period, you review your answers, and you make sure that you have checked and double checked before you hand in your exam. After the test, you're going to check for correct and incorrect responses. You're going to learn how to solve the problem areas. You do not move forward to the next chapters until you know what you did wrong on your exam. And this is where many students do not go to their instructors for help. On average, many math instructors have shared with me that 2 students per semester will come in for help. And they have office hours and they're on your syllabus, so please go to your instructor and figure out what you did wrong. Or go to the math tutoring center, the math labs, wherever the help is for you on campus. Have your instructor look at your notes, improve on those. You may need to do different. Ask your instructor about that. And then again, help from teachers, tutors, and study buddies. And if you need to see counseling to get some of that affirmation, positive self-talk help, counseling is also here to help you with that.